For more on this, we're joined by climate specialist Durwood Zaelke in Myrtle Beach in South Carolina. Thank you so much for being with us on the program. Now, we continue to break records for the worst when it comes to the climate crisis. If we continue at this pace, where are we headed to in terms of potential natural disasters, drought, and displacement?
What we're seeing is the beginning of the hothouse Earth, where the self-reinforcing feedback loops in the climate system begin to push us past a series of irreversible and likely catastrophic tipping points. This is going to happen when we hit 1.5 degrees above pre-industrial level. Right now we're at 1.2, 1.25 above pre-industrial level, and it's already causing these extreme weather events, the record-breaking heat, and it's just the beginning. Because when we go a little bit further, get just a little bit warmer, we move from what we call linear impacts that scale with the amount of warmth, and the impacts are a little worse. But we hit these feedbacks and the tipping points where we have abrupt and nonlinear responses that are going to be far worse. It's like stepping off a cliff where you take that final step and you plunge down into disaster. This is happening, we expect, within a decade to breach 1.5 unless we slam on the brakes.
So you think it's going to take at least 10 years to get to that 1.5 threshold? We're at 1.2 now. With El Nino, how quickly do you think we'll climb up to 1.5?
Well, I think it's going to happen within a decade, but it could be in the next couple of years. And because of the shift from La Nina to El Nino, as you reported, the oceans are now giving heat back to the atmosphere. Right now, about 90% of the heat that we produce from climate change gets stored in the oceans, and then it comes back from time to time. It's coming back right now, and it's pushing us faster towards 1.5. There's a 50-50 chance we'll breach 1.5 in the next couple of years. The question is, do we stay at that temperature long enough to trigger the feedbacks and push us toward the hothouse Earth? Now, there is a solution. I mean, if we want to slow down warming, we need to cut methane and the other short-lived super climate pollutants. We can win this sprint in the next decade and keep from breaching 1.5, or at least limit the overshoot to a temporary period before we go back to 1.5 or below. We have to win that sprint with the non-CO2 super climate pollutants.
Right, and world leaders play a very important role in making what you're saying happen. Why has it been so challenging to get them on board to meet certain requirements in tackling these issues?
Well, they're busy with many different head of state priorities, including economy, including national security, and so on. But we are seeing the climate emergency move to the head of state level. Let's pay attention to what Prime Minister Modi is doing with the G20 summit later this year. He is beginning to see that the climate is in an emergency state. As Secretary General of the UN, Guterres, tells us, we are on the highway to hell with our foot on the accelerator, and we need to find a way to slow down warming in the immediate future. That is cutting methane. So let's see what the UAE does at the next big climate meeting in the fall. And this is an oil state. They have methane emissions, but they also have the technology and the sophistication to stop methane leaks all over the world. And that can cut about 0.3 degrees of warming out of the climate system in the next decade.
Right. It's going to be interesting to see the kind of pledges that world leaders make at the next COP summit, as you said. Durwood Zaelke, thank you so much for being with us here on the NewsHour and sharing that analysis with us.
You're welcome.